So one of our next guests has been knocked down at Wembley Stadium in front of 90,000 people and got back up on his feet. The other has steered her company through a change of leadership in the cutthroat market of mobile gaming. Here to offer insights on what it takes to overcome adversity when you're on the ropes, please welcome to the stage your moderator, Halsey, the founder of CNET and Live Planet, Halsey Minor, and the CEO of Machine Zone, Kristen Garcia Dumont, and the man who ruled the world heavyweight boxing division for over a decade, Wladimir Klitschko.
As tall as he is now with my shoes.
The best things in love come in small packages. You know that.
So welcome, everybody. We have two extremely interesting people to introduce you to this morning. Wladimir Klitschko holds the record for the longest cumulative heavyweight title reign of all time. 4,382 days as world champion. He defeated 23 opponents for the World Heavyweight Championship, the most in history. Furthermore, he defined the philosophy of challenge management and developed the method FACE, F-A-C-E, the challenge, and he describes himself as a challenge master. Kristen Dumont is the CEO of the mobile gaming leader Machine Zone. Machine Zone develops and publishes multiplayer strategy games, including Game of War, A New Empire, Final Fantasy, A New Empire, all of which are among the highest grossing and most successful mobile games of all times. And I must be in her demographic because I see a lot of her advertising, and I actually remember them. So welcome.
Thank you.
While you both have very interesting backgrounds, you also, and are in some ways very different, you're also very unique. I don't think you have to be unique to be successful. Wladimir, you dominated a sport for an outrageously long period of time. There are very few people in the world like you, maybe someone like Roger Federer. Kristen, you're the sole woman running a significant game publisher within literally a kingdom of men. And so I'd like to start with you, Wladimir. So just by way of context, Muhammad Ali was the best known human being on earth during his reign. He reigned for 9 years and 5 months. Wladimir reigned for 12 years and his brother for an additional 7 years. When you hear about this kind of success, generally, if you peel away the layers, there's something going on that transcends the sports. And I see this with a lot of successful coaches. They end up teaching more about life skills than game skills. And so my question to you is, what did you know that transcended the sport that can account for your success and your longevity?
Thank you for the question. Hello, Lisbon, and Portugal is an amazing place. It's my second time here at Web Summit, and it's a pleasure to sharing this space with you, Kristen. Really pleasure. Thank you. You're a true fighter.
I am.
Not just in the computer game, but for real. Lots of respect. To be just named with all those great athletes you just mentioned, Roger Federer as Muhammad Ali, and to be in a row with those, it's a privilege. And I definitely realized that when my time passed, and I'll pass, if I'm not going to leave something for the next generation the next generation is going to do the same mistakes that I've done. So I want to accelerate the process of evolution, and I was thinking how methodically, sustainably can I do it, and that's when the Face the Challenge method has been born. Actually, the trigger for that was the passing away of my legendary coach, Emmanuel Stewart. During my training camp, he passed away. And in that second, I understood I don't want to have that moment when I cannot leave anything after me. So the method Face the Challenge was born, and the principles of the method that helped me to be successful almost for 3 decades as a pugilist, facing different challenges. And this method has principles that we all share. Either we're in the politics, business, athletes, family life, whatever it is, we all need the same: focus, agility, coordination, and endurance. Endurance beats talent and masterpiece. I believe, Kristen, we share the same as an athlete. You know what endurance means. So you need to always repeat the same thing. When you're done with endurance, you need to get back to focus. Focus, it means, how can I identify who am I? To understand, where am I going? What is my goal? As an athlete, I knew exactly either my opponent is going to conquer me in the ring and demolish me, either he's going to do it or I. So I chose me. Agility is not just the body agility, it's agility to understand the road, the way, the roadmap, how I can reach my goal. Coordination. You're not alone, guys. We're in a community. We have allies who are my companions to reach my goal. How can I find the right path from A to Z? And maybe gonna take longer or shorter, but the right path with the right people and companions. And as I mentioned before, I just went through the 4 letters and 4 principles. Endurance. It's everything. Nowadays, we're so challenged with changes happening automatically. Yes, we need to find change in ourselves. We need to find how can we improve our life, but it's actually happening automatically because other people doing the same thing. The world got smaller and faster. So we definitely need to understand that with the change, we're always going to face the challenge, because change is something innovative, new. We need to get adjusted to it, and we need to conquer it and eventually knock it out as a problem to remain successful. But also to understand, I don't want to take too long.
Thanks, Wladimir. I appreciate it. So 20 years ago, I told you backstage, 20 years ago, I ran a company where every one of my senior executives was a woman. They were all there because they were, in every case, the best person for the job. I could not discern any specific strategy they had for getting there. And so my question to you is there advice you can give to a woman who wants to follow your path and certainly your success, or does our culture simply need to change?
Well, that's a tough question. I would say the culture certainly needs to change. There are certainly things that are gender agnostic that are keys to success, and I bet they existed in a lot of the women executives that you were fortunate to work with. You have to have an extraordinary will to win. You need to be willing to totally bust your ass. You have to want to be number one. You need to persist. You need to work extremely hard. And those things cross gender boundaries. And I think the thing for women is they're often told a lot by society about what they're supposed to be doing or thinking or how they're being judged. I'm the mother to 4 children. I have 3 teenagers and a little 5-year-old girl. And when people find out, thank you, that's nice, I agree. I'm a kick-ass mom and a kick-ass CEO. And that's kind of my point, is I was constantly told I had to pick. Like, at what point am I going to stop working, or am I going to go part-time? And when people, find out I run a large company, There's the judgment of, is she a good mother, right? And I feel like I just threw all that away. I don't need to make those choices. I'm going to forge my own path for myself, and I'm going to show my sons and my little girl that you can succeed at everything you do if you have extraordinary will. That's nice.
That's right. So, I mean, just one more question. So if you look at the kind of games that are successful today, does it tell us anything about the world we live in now?
Absolutely. So one of the things that is phenomenal about our games, and this isn't novel anymore because people really picked up on the power of this, is that there's an extreme sense of community in our games. So our games are very complex, they're very difficult, they're very immersive, they're intended to be something that you spend a lot of time at and you learn the strategy, but you cannot win, you can't succeed in the game without forging, just as you were talking about, a strong alliance. You must have a strong alliance, you can't do it alone. And I think what we find is that, people are lonely. There's, we've got all this tech and all these devices that are supposed to connect us, but they've really created this sense of being disconnected and really highlighted our differences. I love Twitter, but it's become this megaphone for disagreement and, just popping off thoughts rather than careful discussion or being curious about what people's points of views are and why they're different and why they think differently than you are. And what's beautiful about our games is it brings all these people from across the globe together, and it forces them to work together towards a common goal. And they really get rid of their differences, and they celebrate the things that make them united, that make them similar, that make them strong together. And I think, mobile gaming is a really powerful social platform that people find extraordinarily compelling, and that's why it's become such a huge industry.
So, Wladimir, when someone does something as long and as successfully as you boxed, in transitioning, obviously being known for your great success, did that success, or has that success in any way made it more difficult for you to transition to your new mission?
We talk about basically career after career. We all having, or going to have different careers. We're going to switch jobs. New challenges going to come up. Was it difficult? Yeah, as an athlete, and I've been building myself up slowly to become a champion, be on the top, and mostly it was difficult and complicated to stay at the top. You can get up there, but to remain there for a longer time, you need to have a lot of different qualities. And of course, when you switch the careers, you kind of start not from the top, you kind of start from below, usually. Your expectation bar is high up, but usually we hit under or below the expectation bar. I understood and I knew that career after career is important, and prepare yourself during your first career for the next one. Do not have this gap of time, because time is crucially important. We're limited with our time. So to make this transition, it was challenging, but it was well prepared. And this method faced the challenge that I've been talking about it. I'm not like just the longest heavyweight champion of the world, but also I talk long. So I just want to say that you definitely need to know the failures, the mistakes that you're possibly going to get. We all speak about success, and you're expecting your next career successful or successfully, but you're only going to be successful if you know your mistakes. And if you study it, automatically that's what happens. And I call it the game of opposites. The more pressure out there, the calmer I am. The less pressure out there, the more alert I am. Warren Buffett said, there are different sayings about it, like when the blood flows the streets, buy. Everyone runs away, for life, literally. But then you buy them. So game of opposites, you just do the opposite of what is actually happening. And eventually, you're going to get what you want.
And you got to believe in yourself.
And willpower, you just said
absolutely.
Willpower is the strongest force that we have as human.
If you believe you can do it, I switched careers. I'm a recovered lawyer, and I loved being a lawyer. There actually is much more gender diversity in legal practice, especially at large law firms, than there is in gaming, unfortunately. But it really inspired this sense of, if you have extraordinary willpower and you're intelligent and you're willing to learn, you're willing to get back up again and again and again. I was a litigator, so you sort of get proverbially bunched in the face all the time by judges, opposing counsel, and you just got to get back up. You got to have grit. You got to believe in yourself. You got to learn, and you will succeed if you have confidence in yourself and you just don't give up.
But you think gender discrimination is a real thing?
I do.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Unfortunately,
that's not a.
Yeah. I don't think anyone. Well, I think we've evolved enough that there aren't people at companies actively saying, "I'm not going to give that woman a job because she's a woman." Okay. But I do think there's subtle forms of discrimination. Okay. Somebody gets pregnant. Oh God. Right. Now what? Is she going to come back to work? Now somebody thinks about that person differently, and so they don't put them on the most important projects. They redefine their career for that woman, rather than the woman having the opportunity to say, you know what, I'm going to take a maternity leave. I didn't get dumb in the 4 months that I took off. I'm going to come back and I'm going to crush it just like I did before. So there's things like that. I still get asked constantly if I'm traveling with a male. I constantly get asked if I'm the assistant. And so you just got to point it out. You just got to say, no, I'm the CEO. And you have to not shy away from those moments that are opportunities to educate somebody that they had a little bit of gender bias that they weren't appreciating. And they're often bringing that to bear in situations that they don't realize.
So in the 2 minutes we have remaining, excuse me. So if a 20-year-old showed up and asked you, what is the most important message you could give to somebody who's joining the workforce today, what would the message be? Wladimir, you can go first.
Face your challenge. Don't show back to your challenge. Don't be a coward. Cowardness is the worst sense that possibly people could have. Be scared and afraid, which makes you smarter and better and faster, but don't be a coward. Face your challenge. Don't show back to your challenge. That's basically it.
I'd agree. I'd say face your fear, and for me what that means is I tell my kids and I tell employees, what's the worst possible thing that could happen? Imagine that. And it's never going to be as bad as that. So just imagine that thing in time, that horrible, horrible, possible, terrible thing, and then figure out how to avoid that. And then you always know that you're one step away from the thing that you're most scared of. And you just do one step at a time, but you got to face your fears and you got to bat them back.
So I have a question for you. Why do you think war games are so successful? Not just today, but over time.
I was just talking on Startup University track. I really think it's because people, all of humanity has that sense of roar. Like people just absolutely love that feeling, right? It's very uniting. It brings people together. It's absolutely universal. It's powerful, and it transcends race, creed, religion, everything.
I'd be curious what your thought is. Obviously, you're...
My thought is do you play games?
Yes.
You do?
A lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
How exciting. And war games is your favorite?
Of course. That's what we make. Yes.
Well,
it's competitive. They're hyper competitive.
I can tell. Your attitude. It's amazing, actually. So I definitely want to say that with the gender, 30% in my employees are men, 70%
That's fantastic.
women. I get home.
Okay, that gets a round of applause. 70%. Wow.
So obviously that's also improving and changing. And I like one of the greatest leaders right now in the politics, Angela Merkel, has been out there for a long time, and she's. I know it's Web Summit. We don't talk about politics, but she's facing a lot of challenges, and she used to. And it's amazing what actually women are capable of as endurance, capable of doing. It's just lots of respect.
So, Guy,
thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have a chance to ask you questions and hear
Thank you.
I think very enlightened answers.
Thank you, guys.